It is said that for students it doesn't matter what the teacher teaches, but it really matters how the teacher teaches. What if the students are getting bored sitting inside the classroom? The only solution to the problem is let them go and play, because it's how the students will feel energized while studying. Today we are going to study how to teach unitary method to the students by using an activity called count the steps. So the main objectives of this lesson will be to make the students able to understand the concept of unitary method and to make the students estimate the distance using this concept. But beforehand, the things that students should know beforehand will be the basic arithmetic calculation, like the simple multiplication and addition. For this activity, the materials required will be a small measuring tape that can be of 5 meter, or a longer measuring tape will be more efficient. And we can use the locally available stones for carving the marks on the ground, and we need an open ground which is mostly available in the schools where we are teaching. So let's start. First we should mark a starting and an ending line like this. We can use the stones to carve the marking, and remember that these two lines must be parallel to each other. Then we need to measure the distance from this starting to this ending point with the help of a tape, and you can also take the help of a student, and the student will find good working with you. Let's suppose this distance is 20 meters. You can also make this distance longer so that it will give a more precise result. So this is the ground with starting line as this line, and this is the ending line. So first what you do is you make the students stand in the starting line like this. Then you send the signal to move, also taking care that they should move in a normal speed while walking. Let's say they have started walking, and meanwhile they are walking, they must count the steps as they proceed. And when they have completed the ending line, they must record the number of steps in their copy. Let's say the first student makes 28 steps, the second 30 steps, the third 27, and the fourth 32 steps. So we can say that this first student covers 28 steps to cover 20 meter distance. The second student covers 30 steps to cover 20 meter distance. Similarly, third student takes 27 steps, and the fourth student takes 32 steps to cover the same distance. So using the simple unitary method, what we can do is, if he covers 28 steps in 20 minutes, we can calculate the distance for one step. So at one step he must be covering 20 divided by 28 meters, that is 0.71 meter distance. Similarly, for the second student, we can calculate at one step he covers 20 over 30 meter distance, which is 0.67 meters. Similarly, if the third student covers 20 over 27, and the fourth student covers 20 over 32, which is 0.60 meter distance. So these distances that we just found out is called the pacing factor. That means the distance traveled in one step. Also ensure that every student must remember these pacing factor, because each individual has got a different pacing factor, and these can be applied in their real life scenarios to estimate the distances. Let's play a game which I call finding the best estimator. So if we are teaching the students in a school, there must be the provision of some volleyball grounds or basketball grounds. So tell the students to count the steps by moving in the perimeter and multiply the total number of steps with the pacing factor. Then they will estimate the perimeter of the score. Let's say the student first stands here and start moving from this line and then goes over this line, and again return back to the same position. So he will count the number of steps, multiply it with the pacing factor, and then he will estimate the perimeter. Then meanwhile, we as a teacher will be accurately measuring this perimeter with a tape, and it will be compared with the student's estimation. So every student will be estimating in the same way. So the student who has got the nearest estimation will get a prize. This will help him to get some feeling of appreciation, and he will get interested in learning. After the game, we can just give them a home assignment to estimate the distance from his or her home to school by counting the steps. So by giving this assignment, he is interested to find what is the distance from the school to the home. So while returning back to home, he will count the steps while moving from school to home, multiply it with his own pacing factor, and estimate the distance. So every student can use his own pacing factor to estimate the distance to go to shops, to go to school, to go to temple, or while trekking. So to get more accurate pacing factor, we can follow the following instructions. The distance can be increased to more than 100 meters since we are only doing for 20 meters. The more the distance, the more accurate will be the pacing factor. Again, we can also let the students take the average of the two values taken for measuring the pacing, since we are only counting the pacing factor from going from starting line to the ending line. But we can also tell the students again to count from ending line to the starting line, find the two values, and also make them take the average of these two values, which will give them a more precise pacing factor. And sometimes the counting steps is already finished, but there is also some space. For example, let's say this is the finishing line and his final step goes here and another step goes here. So this distance, suppose up to here he covers 28 steps, and this is his 29th step, and this is the finishing line. Hence he can count the pacing steps as 28 and a half, which will be 28.5 steps. So these are the methods to take more accurate pacing factors, and if we get more accurate pacing factors, this can give a good estimation of the distances. So thanks for watching and keep inspiring the students.